Hi teachers, it's Matthew here, and this is my typography tutorial, Ideas for TPT Authors and Teachers. I hope you enjoy it.
There's two outlines in this video. First is to show you some amazing fonts that you can use in your products and your own generic worksheets that you create in the classroom. Also, I'm going to show you my workflow for deciding fonts when I'm using them for the thumbnails and the products that I create. I'm by no means an expert, I'm just simply sharing what I've learned and what works for me. So anyway, let's get into this little tutorial that I've planned for you. So currently you're looking at my TPT dashboard, my homepage, if you just sort of look at it. And you can see here that I've got several thumbnails, in my view, that are using some pretty cool font styles. So how did I get to this point where I managed to get some really awesome fonts together and use them in my products and my thumbnails? So, well, I'm going to walk you through that. So the first place I'm going to take you to is a TPT author called Kimberly Griffin. Now, she has an amazing free product called the KG Fonts Font Pairing Guide. Now, this is an amazing bit of free content that she's released. So I'm going to walk you through just how amazing this guide is. So I'm currently at the top of the page. So she walks you through some tips that helps your typography look amazing. So the first tip she suggests is pairing all caps with a script. Now this is probably the one that I use the most, if I'm being perfectly honest, in my thumbnails. So as you can see, it looks incredible. Like the moment I opened this up, I went, wow, I'm definitely going to be using that form of typography. Next, her other suggestion is to pair skinny and chunky together. I've used this in my thumbnails before as well. Her third tip is to pair fancy with simple. And then tip 4 is to pair lowercase with the capital of one font. Then to pair fonts that are different but similar in style. And finally, to mix wide and narrow fonts. This is another one that I've also used quite a lot. So they're the 6 font pairing guide suggestions that she puts forward. And I can tell you what, it's an amazing resource. I've regularly gone back to this and I find it incredibly useful. Now, the only sort of little drawback with this is if you were to purchase all of those fonts, you're up for about $299 US. Now, considering the amount of fonts that she's got, and she's a top tier sort of TPT author, and she only sells to TPT authors, it's probably pretty reasonable. I suggest you wait for any sales, just so you can get her work at a cheaper price. I personally bought 4 individual licenses because there's 4 of her fonts I absolutely loved. Now, if that's sort of out of your price point, you then sort of will want to go to some other TPT authors. So it's good to type in Fonts Growing Bundle. Now, there's 2 other authors that I do know quite a few TPT authors use. And first is probably Amy Groesbeck. I see her work popping up in thumbnails all the time. And I also know that Mollie Jo has a growing bundle that's quite popular as well. And as you can see, both of these are on sale, and that you also sort of get any future updates in that growing bundle, which is also excellent. Now, TPT isn't the only place to go to find sort of the fonts that you're wanting to use. So there are amazing sort of commercial fonts available that look absolutely incredible, like Crosshatcher. I adore Crosshatcher. I think it's amazing. But there's 2 drawbacks. So the first drawback you're looking at, it's the price point. So $25, and that's only really for full personal use. Additionally to that, that's not a commercial license. That's the problem with it. So you need to really sort of, whenever you download a font, you need to look at the terms and conditions that the author puts upon their intellectual property, because the last thing you want to do is break that and be sort of up for copyright charges. Now, I've gone through the TPT authors. I've gone through some commercial fonts that you can sort of look at, but they're pricey. There's also an amazing free option, and that's an option that I typically draw upon when creating my products. And the place that you can go for that is Google Fonts. Now, Google Fonts is great because it's got 288 font families that you can pick from. That's incredible. Now, before I go and look through all the different font types, quickly just going to go through their terms and conditions. Google are really generous with the content that they create and the products that they release. So as you can see here, it says free to use. All fonts are released under open source licenses. You can use them in any non-commercial or commercial product. With so many unique fonts to use, you're bound to find something you like. Now, this is my go-to area for fonts that I want to use in my own thumbnails and my own TPT products. So let's have a look through the different font families. So you can see there's serif, sans serif, display, handwriting, and monospace. Now, if I go through, and let's just look at handwriting for the moment, you can see then it narrows down the types of handwriting fonts that you can choose from. So some of my favorite ones include Pacifico. I really enjoy that. Permanent marker is great. I've used that quite a bit. I do also like, I absolutely adore Sacramento. I think it's an amazing font. And Homemade Apple is also good, but I don't like how they do capital letters, but it's still an incredible font to choose from. So Google Fonts is an amazing resource that you can use. Now, just like any sort of product, even though Google has said this, that it's free to use, I still suggest that you look at the terms and conditions of any font that you open up before you install. So this is just the terms and conditions from Crosshatcher. So that was the exact same thing that's from the website. So even though Google says this, I highly recommend that you still do it. Trust, but verify. So we've gone on Google Fonts. I've shown you three sort of some TPT fonts that you can use and the Google Fonts. So now I'm going to walk you through the sort of font pairing guide that I've sort of set up. And here it is. Now, I got this idea from getting all the top fonts that teachers love from an Instagram account, Ladybug's Teacher Files. Now, I highly recommend that you do follow her on Instagram. She produces amazing content. There's so much free stuff that she gives away. And she's got like the tops of Google fonts that teachers love to use. If you do notice that there is an arrow through some font types, that means when I have installed it onto PowerPoint, unfortunately, it hasn't worked. Also, just another quick thing, if you do install a font, make sure you install it, then close down PowerPoint or Microsoft Word, and then reopen it. Once you then reopen it, then the font will be ready to use. So if you've come across that problem, don't worry. Now, as you can see, this is the sort of first sort of version that I did where I downloaded a heap of fonts. I haven't really categorized them the way Kimberly Gishwen mentions, but there's still heaps of amazing suggestions there. If you are downloading the Google Fonts, just pause this video here, get up another screen, and you just start downloading them. Okay. And then I went back to Google again. I did a bit of a scan, and then I liked these ones as well. All right, another thing I did, I took an idea from Kimberly Gishwen's free content. I then sort of paired up all of the similar script fonts that I saw. So here are some of the script fonts that I paired up. This just allows me to make a bit of decision about what could look good in a thumbnail or a product. I've also taken the skinny and thin and skinny and wide fonts, just so I can compare them. Any sort of simple fonts I've come across and looked at there. I have some chunky fonts that I like to refer to, and some see-through fonts as well. Lastly, I've then got some fancy fonts that I also like to use in products. Now, I also then did this one where these are some of the chalk fonts I looked at for a project. A lot of these fonts here are actually paid, so just be aware of that. It was for sort of a product I was thinking of using, a chalkboard theme, parts of speech poster. If I did sort of went and use all of these fonts, then unfortunately I'd be up for something like $200, $300 to put them into a commercial product. And that's really sort of not cost effective for a TPT product. Now, how did then I use this sheet to make my thumbnails? Well, I'll show you. So most TPT authors will have all of their thumbnails in one sort of PowerPoint drive. Oh, I shouldn't say drive, I should say file. So as you can see, I've used different variations of fonts that I think catch the eye and look amazing. Here I've used sort of two sort of all uppercase ones. I've also used that chunky and skinny sort of look going on. Here I've used the thick sort of fonts and the script fonts together that look great. And this is probably my favorite thumbnail, the Braille Code posters. That's a free product you can get on my store. I think it's the best thumbnail that I've ever done. The more sort of you do sort of practice this, then you will get better at it. And that's the video. So thank you for watching. Hopefully you've gained some ideas about what you can use in your own TPT products, and as a teacher, what sort of fonts you could put into the worksheet, the generic worksheets that you create. Now, if you liked this content, make sure you don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel, Griffin Education Enterprises. If you have any other questions about this video, leave a comment in the thread down below, and I'll sort of get back to you. As I said, I'm not an expert. I'm just simply sharing what I've learned, and I'd love to sort of hear about other people's ideas and workflow that they use when they create their TPT products. Anyway, that's me. That's Matthew. Thanks for watching the video. Ciao.